This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. Well, we're here for a very special episode. Vanessa Christman is here, the awesome, the amazing. You may know her as the hot one, Vanessa Christman. Welcome to The Speaking Show.
Hello, fans. Hello, friends. Hello, David.
Oh, hi, honey. It's so good to have you. So listen, I want to first start talking about being on the hiring side of the crazy speaker world. I know you've hired speakers. It's not a big part of what you do right now. So please don't call, don't email, don't bombard Vanessa on LinkedIn. You're not going to get hired now. But back in the day when you were hiring more speakers and authors and poets and presenters, what kind of things made a speaker easy to work with, and what kind of things were you not so excited about, where it was maybe more challenging than it should have been?
Well, at the end of the day, the content matters most, in my opinion. So when we hire a speaker, we hire that speaker because of their message to our community, right? In this case, the Bryn Mawr College community. Partly because of maybe their reputation as well. Maybe they've established a name that is based on their speaking and writing. That's great. But wherever their message is of the moment, that's what we're hiring them for. At this moment in our community, we want to hear their message. So if the speaker comes in and delivers a random message or a different message than what we're expecting, that's really a disappointment, because that was our moment to bring that speaker to our community for the specific purpose of hearing a specific content that we believed was going to be conveyed, right? So that, I think, is the core piece. Beyond that, obviously, graciousness with your host. So in this case, you're coming into our community and we want to welcome you, but it should be a two-way thing, I believe. And just having humanity on both sides. So again, it should be our job to be gracious hosts, but the speaker is, again, coming into our community, and we are all in this moment of being humans in the room together. So nobody should be treated either, as somebody who's superhuman, and also we have to remember that everyone is human. So if a mistake happens, or if a schedule has to shift a little bit because of the human experience, that's important to note, like just to remember everybody's humanity. So content, humanity, and then I'll just say, because I know it's really important right now in this moment in higher education, that whatever the speaker is talking about, generally I feel we should create an atmosphere that allows listening to happen, even when we disagree vehemently with the message. I would say, in my case, I would try not to bring somebody who will have a divisive or really extreme message. I don't see the purpose of that generally, because usually it just riles people up. I feel like a message is lost when it goes to the extremes, or when it is trying from the outset to be divisive. Then the message, the content that I spoke of first is gone anyway. But I do think we have to train our ears and our hearts to listen to messages that may not sit comfortably with us, and may even seem offensive to us, in the interest of having more dialogue. So although we're bringing a speaker, the speaker can be a launching point for dialogue in our community.
Wow. So I'm hearing about 5 different things there.
That was a lot.
I know. You just kept on rolling. So number 1 is relevance. Specific relevance.
Yeah.
And then the second thing as part of that is really collaborating and communicating with the person who hired you about what is it that you'd like as the outcome of this meeting? What is it about my message or my book that is especially relevant right now on campus?
That's right.
What are you guys going through? Maybe even getting some guidance about, has anything happened recently that is a big flare-up issue? Is there any topic that I should make sure to hit on? Is there any topic I should make sure to avoid? Is there any key words or phrases or concepts that would, cause the dorms to burn down or whatever? Just so really tailoring customization and relevance for that particular client on that particular campus in that particular moment in time, not assuming anything, not assuming that the same old speech that you're going to trot out, 6 months ago or 3 months ago or even last week is what this particular client wants. And I think it's extreme customization and extreme collaboration in really making that speaking event a success for all the stakeholders and the audience and you as an institution.
Yeah, no, that's well put. Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, we talk about this at home because, we're talking shop, this and that. When a speaker comes, we don't have to use names, obviously, but when a speaker comes and just says, I'm going to charge $15,000 and I'm just going to sit on the stage and we're just going to have a rap session with the kids. And this is a famous author that has, big ideas and great ideas. And they just decide that they're not going to do those big, great ideas. And they're just going to sit on the stage and, have a campfire chat. And that's not a collaborative decision. That was sort of a last minute decision that was sprung on you. And I think that came through a speaker's bureau too. So there's an additional layer there. How do you recover from something like that? How do you try and save something like that if you get wind of it a day or two before the actual event? Was there any talking to this person, or was it just, hey, this is what we're getting and we're going to be really pissed off at the bureau?
I can't really say that it's the bureau's fault in that case. And I do want to talk about bureaus a little bit in a few minutes. But in that case, I think what actually happened was the speaker thought whatever came to their head would be important to share with us, whatever they were musing on in the moment. And that's not fair to your audience. I don't think a person can have a name great enough that they can just riff when you have hired them to come and give a message to your community. Riffing on whatever musings are in your head at the moment is not giving a message to the community and staying consistent to your core content. That may seem really stifling, but as the person hiring you, I don't care, because we brought you to bring a specific message or to bring serious content. I would even go on to say profound content. If we're talking $15,000, we're hiring you to give a message to us that is not just whatever's currently skipping through your mind. That's not fair. And it's not fair to the Bureau either, because that would be unanticipated by them, certainly, too. You want to talk about the Bureau for a minute?
I do. Well, but I want to talk about the Fireside Chat, okay. The riffing with the kids. Yeah. That might be a great bonus session. That might be, let me hang out for 45 minutes after my talk and do like a Q&A Fireside Chat thing. But a Fireside Chat thing, whatever's riffing through your brain, like you said, as the $15,000 speech, that's not cool. Would you value that as an add-on?
No, absolutely. Whenever we can build things in programmatically, so there's a keynote, but then there is exactly the smaller audience of a student affinity group, or, maybe in one case recently a speaker came and did some real teaching with our faculty to help our faculty learn, because she was an esteemed educator as well as speaker. Those kind of add-ons are amazing, because you're bringing somebody whose perspective is separate from your community, but who, again, is an expert, has established a reputation for their message, for the content they deliver, and then they're able to share it, even if it's in a listening way. So let's say it's with the students, and the students really want to talk to this person, and just have them listen and then share a few reflections. That's totally different and extremely valuable as an add-on component.
Hey, this interview is a real moneymaker. If you're serious about ramping up your reach and revenue as a speaker, trainer, or expert, book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team. The link is doitmarketing.com/call. It will be the most valuable 45 minutes you invest in your speaking-driven business. Speaking of value, let's get back to the show.
So now let's roll up our sleeves and talk about Bureaupalooza. Speakers, bureaus, the good, the bad, and the ugly. From the client side, of course. The speaker side, there's a whole separate thing. But from the client side, how do you see the pros and cons of your bureau relationships, and what makes a good one?
Well, as you said at the beginning of this, it's not something that I'm spending much of my working time on right now. So
calm down, kids. Calm down.
Mm-hmm. But I think having a relationship really matters. So there are a number of good speakers bureaus out there, but when I was hiring speakers, it really was in our interest to have a good working relationship with one or two, and to build on that, to speak to the person either running the bureau or a really high-level person in there who always, I felt, was taking care of us and was remaining in contact with us, so that there was a real relationship established over time and there was some trust built up. So it wasn't just about the contracts that we executed and the finer points of those contracts. That was important too. But to know that the same person was going to call me, or that I could reach out to that person from that bureau and really have an ongoing relationship, mattered a lot and made me feel like I was a valued client and that we were going to be able to have successful, relationships and to bring speakers successfully over a period of time, not just one and done.
So it's almost like a good bureau relationship is just an expansion of what a good speaker relationship is. That it goes beyond the transactional, sign the contract, give me the AV form, give me your pre-programmed questionnaire. It's, what are you trying to do with this event? Tell us about your upcoming events. Who have you had in the past? How, was that person well received? What was well received about them? Give me some idea of some speakers who were not well received. What was not well received about them? And really being a collaborative partner in your programming and not just someone that throws a bunch of speaker one-sheets and videos on your desk.
No, that's right. Or bombards us with calls or with emails. It's not our main business to hire speakers. Our main business is to educate young folks. So we have very little time to think about the hiring of speakers, regardless of how important it is. Our time spent on that task cannot be a lot because it's not our main business.
Well, and that's where the Bureau comes in.
That's right.
Because instead of you doing 100% of the speaker selection, they do 80, you do 20, and it goes much faster for you.
That's right. But if it's somebody who's going to continually year after year be bombarding me with emails and phone calls, and if it's somebody I've never even hired or never even worked with them, I just think that's it just becomes actually exhausting rather than uplifting.
Super quick commercial break. Isn't this interview amazing? If you'd like to get more ideas on how to start or grow your speaking business fast, pop over to our free training at doitmarketing.com/webinar.
So let's talk about this bombard concept, because some people say bombard is once a day. Some people say bombard is 4 times a year. What's a good heartbeat of contact from a bureau or even from a speaker? Should they be getting in touch with you twice a year? Should they be sending a postcard, little handwritten note, little Christmas gift at the holidays? I mean, how much contact is too much contact? How much contact is welcome and valuable for you?
Well, and I'm speaking as an educator in higher education. So for us, it's a very specific annual cycle, the academic year. So for me, it would be really helpful to hear either at the end of one academic year or perhaps leading into, although that's a little late, but what are your plans for the year ahead? How can we be helpful to you as you're thinking about speakers for the next academic year?
And that call might come in April or May, or that email.
Yeah, I mean, and potentially even earlier for a really high profile speaker. I recognize you can't just on the spur of the moment bring them to your campus, but truly more than once a year is actually not all that helpful, because we really are planning those things out. The ones that we're going to bring and not have just be, a smaller speaker that a student may want to bring much more.
Like a David Newman, for example. It's a little small speaker, just some little nobody nebbish guy who charges, $7,500, not a big deal. You can probably find that money in the sofa cushions, correct?
Well, it's always good to be planful. Sometimes there are things where you want to be a little more spontaneous, but when we work with speakers bureaus, usually it's to plot out something much more intentionally. Small guys like you, or bigger people, we still would plot that out more intentionally.
Bigger in fee, not bigger in value.
There you go. Now, there's an exception, though, and you touched on it a few minutes ago, that something may happen on campus or in the world that becomes such a hot point where it really would be helpful to hear wisdom from somebody and to bring them in because of this moment.
Like a Jessica Pettit, for example.
That's right.
Right? So she parachutes in, there's some crisis. And so let's talk about that for a quick second, because there are people like Jess who are not just great content, but they also have sort of a process. So it's more of a facilitation, it's more of a healing, it's more of a collaborative thing, that when there's some fire, so to speak, there are these firefighters. By the way, we should probably say that where we're recording this is why all the fire analogies are coming into play, is that we are in the Foundation Studios of the Foundation Hotel
Detroit Foundation
in
Hotel.
Detroit, Michigan, which is a restored firehouse. And so when there are these on-campus fires and you want someone like Jessica Pettit to come in, how do you see using those kind of situational process plus content speakers as opposed to just the content speakers that may have a great and relevant message, but someone like Jess also has more of a facilitative process that she brings to her talks?
Yeah, well, it's so important. I mean, I think it would probably be important to any place, anywhere, any people. But as we are focusing on young folks and their development and their education, I think it's critical to be able to help them process, to be able sometimes to help a community heal. And people like Jess, who I know and value, really bring that additional layer. Yeah, that's so important. And of course, that's what we think we can do too as educators daily. But sometimes things are, such big issues that we really value bringing in somebody from outside who can hold us and help us work through something.
Fantastic. Well, in closing, let me ask you, as people are listening and processing all of this wisdom that you've shared, if they were to take one key concept from our conversation today, what would you hope that would be?
To be true to your message, to really know that you have worked to establish a reputation that is centered on your message that you share with folks, and that's what they value, and that's why they want you to speak.
Boom. Mic drop. Vanessa Christman, you're awesome. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, David.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.